There is an old Rodgers and Hammerstein. We have some young people in the crowd who don't know who that is. There's an old Broadway musical called My Fair Lady. And Oscar Hammerstein wrote this lyric, a bell is not a bell until you ring it. A song is not a song until you sing it. And love in your heart wasn't put there to stay because love really isn't love until you give it away. It was a normal Sunday morning. My wife Kathy and I were driving home from church, and we had our 3 small children in the minivan with us, riding that Odyssey minivan down Rochester Road. I know what you're thinking. I didn't know you was doing that well. We got to our subdivision, and as we turned in, there on the front porch of one of our neighbors' homes, where it hadn't been just a few hours earlier, was now a red igloo cooler. And it hit us like a ton of bricks. Because in our neighborhood, when someone is diagnosed with cancer, the neighbors all get together and organize meals for that family. But because chemo treatments can mean unusual sleep schedules, what they do is they put a red cooler on the front porch. And then they fill it up with that day's meals for the family. And that way the family can just eat whenever it's convenient for them without people knocking on their door. And it's really a lovely sentiment. And I just hated those red coolers. I thought they were awful. I thought all I could think about was the children who lived in that house and how they'd be riding their bikes down the street or playing in the front yard, and they'd have to be confronted with this red symbol of death on their front porch every day, and I hated it. Well, Kathy, bless her heart, thought that I was the most cynical dog she'd ever heard of. She's horrible. How can you say that? But I just thought they were awful. And I told everybody I knew about it. And Kathy eventually, of course, took her turn making meals for that family and pretended that she didn't know me. But that's another story. About a year and a half later, Kathy herself started getting headaches. And they would come and they were pretty bad, and then they'd go away, and then they'd come back and they'd go away, and then they came and they wouldn't go away. So we took her in for some tests, and they did a whole battery of tests, and then they did a whole round of scans. And then a tall man in a white coat took us into a small room. And he said the word glioblastoma, which basically means get your affairs in order. And 17 days after that, she died. About a week after her funeral, my friend Ed from across the street gave me a call on the phone. The only thing he said to me was, "Open your garage door." So I did. And there was Ed rolling a giant white deep freezer up our driveway. He rolled it right past me into our garage and plugged it into the wall. He said, "My friend, I know how you feel about those red coolers. So we got you this. And it'll be in your garage, out of sight, out of the way, for you." And I said, "Well, thank you, but I don't really have anything to put in it." He said, "I know, I've seen you cook." Over the next 3 hours, neighbors from all over stopped by and dropped off meals that were fully prepared, wrapped up with instructions on how to thaw them and cook them, and they filled that freezer to the brim. I had been slightly wrong about those red coolers. They weren't symbols of death. They were bright red beacons of hope and love. And my friend Ed, his simple act of Friendship reminded me that our secret weapon as human beings is our generosity to one another. He wasn't a guy delivering a freezer. He was a friend, and he was making me feel loved and known and like I mattered. Another person making me feel like I mattered.